All right, in this video, I'm going to be covering the most hodgepodge home theater setup I've had since I've started this channel. Oddly, it's worked quite well. Now, before I get started, please like, subscribe, comment, do all those good things. It helps the YouTube algorithm. Really appreciate it. So this has been a temporary setup until I'm able to get the full theater in here, and that is forthcoming. I'll be giving this room the full home theater treatment. This definitely isn't permanent. Now, for sure, this is better than the TV or a typical sound bar. I'm going to be going over the adapters, connections, layouts, and all the adjustments I've had to make to this to make it sound like what I want to hear, as best as possible given the setup. So this comes out of the TV headphone jack. Basically, the TV is acting as the preamplifier. So this is really high quality stuff. The TV speaker is turned off and the volume control for the headphone output is turned on. From there, it goes into a stereo 3.5 millimeter Y splitter so that both female connections have the same stereo signals. So it's not like one side is left, one side is right. Both have left and right channels. An aux cord goes from one of the splitters to down here to this input here on the pile amplifier. And the pile amplifier powers these Polk bookshelf speakers. Now, it's certainly better than the TV, but it doesn't do much in the way of bass. That brings me to the other side of the Y connection. Now here I have a 3.5 millimeter adapter that goes into a left and right RCA adapter, female, which goes into this dual RCA line here. Guess where that goes? Now I do want to pause for a minute and say this is definitely a temporary setup, so please don't give me comments about how it looks like spaghetti back there. I'm well aware. Again, this is not a permanent setup. This is just for the time being until I'm able to get the full home theater in here. So the dual RCAs go across here, go behind here. And by the way, that's a mesh Wi-Fi system. Man, I highly recommend that. That has improved my Wi-Fi game tremendously. Not that expensive, much easier to configure, and your connection's way better. I really like that, but I'll go into that another time. But it comes around here, comes down here to the SVS Micro 3000, which I have yet to review. But it's, it's a very versatile subwoofer, and I'll go into that in a minute. It goes into the outputs down here, which are left and right inputs. Now, I could have also run RCA cables to the output to the backside of the pile amplifier. But once again, this is a temporary setup, so I didn't bother doing that. It would have looked a lot better. Of course, cable management would have been nicer to have here, but again, temporary. Did I mention it's temporary? It's temporary. So yeah, it is a very temporary setup, but it works. It sounds a lot better than the TV. It sounds a lot better than just the speakers alone. Having the subwoofer in the mix, that's made quite a difference. So now is this plug and play? Nope, definitely not plug and play. Would I recommend this in general? No, I would not, because you're not going to get the sound that I personally would enjoy without being able to control a few things. If you hook up a regular subwoofer like this, is it going to be better than a basic soundbar? Maybe, but it's not going to be something that I would enjoy personally. If this didn't work, I wouldn't even make a video about it or even leave it hooked up. I need to be able to enjoy it if I'm going to have this going instead of just the TV for the time being. So this is better than the TV. I just don't recommend doing this with basic subs, and I'll go into why in just a second. But the secret sauce really is the SVS Micro. I am an SVS affiliate, which means if you follow my links and purchase something from SVS, I can earn a commission. But I can do that with nearly any product I like. In fact, if you look in the description, you'll see links for everything you see here. The important thing is it's not captive. It's not a sponsorship. I'm not, prohibited from talking about other subwoofers, other speakers, things like that. I can say what I want. I can do whatever I want. I have full autonomy, including the ability to fall off the face of the planet for a couple of years and still be okay. But what makes the Micro so important in this setup here? It's basically the app. The app is what makes it doable. If I didn't have the app, I wouldn't be able to have this set up and have it sound good. Generally speaking, the app has more features and options than you need, in my opinion. But that said, the way I've been using it with this subwoofer, I've used features that I've never imagined needing. The most important features in this particular setup would be the crossover preset and PEQs. So normally the crossover is handled by the AVR, but there's no such adjustment in this setup. Now here's the unusual thing. I actually use the SVS Micro in my SUV. That's definitely another video, but this is a very versatile subwoofer. So I have the crossover set appropriately, which is basically a low pass filter. Whatever I set it to on the app, it filters off everything above that setting. So if I have it at 120 hertz, it filters off everything above that, which is necessary because it's getting full line signal from the TV. I've also used the PEQs and using frequency sweeps to dial in the bass response by ear as best I can. The other feature that has been extremely useful has been the presets. Now, the important part here is that you save your presets. When I first hooked this up, I completely lost all of my settings that I had in the truck. They're completely different, so I had to go back over everything again, and that's not a short process. So it's really important to know how to save your presets and label them and things like that. If you don't know how to do that, it's frustrating, and it took me a minute to actually do that. So it's important to do that if you're going to try and use a subwoofer in different configurations, for whatever you need. If you have different, if you have a music or a movie setup, you want to be able to save your presets so that you don't lose it. But basically, I had to assume the role of room correction for both scenarios because there's no room correction for this and there's no room correction for my SUV. I had to go through frequency sweeps to make sure the bass was appropriately adjusted for each setup, both the living room and the SUV, which are completely different. It's way off from one to the other, so it really does make a difference. Now, the way I have it set up, I can easily transfer the subwoofer from the living room in here into the SUV seamlessly. All I have to do is change the preset and it's done. It's all adjusted. So anyway, that's my temporary home theater setup. Again, temporary being the important part. I just found it kind of amusing that I was able to get it to sound as good as it does using the little micro from SVS. Again, I need to do a review on that, but I gotta tell you, the bass that comes out of that little thing, it's impressive. And being able to have something better than the TV speakers, something better than a soundbar. And basically, I just used everything that I had on hand. The only thing I had to get were the adapters for the, headphone output. Everything else was just stuff I had kind of laying around. Is it as good as my proper home theater? No. It doesn't have the impact. It doesn't have the balance. There's a lot of things missing, a lot of things to be desired, but overall, I'm pretty darn happy for what it is. But again, this is just the temporary setup. This is going to be changing very soon, so I wanted to get a video while it was still in this configuration, this really hodgepodge of mess of a situation. And, that way, when I have the full setup, it'll be something that's more recognizable for my channel. So thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate the subscriptions, the likes, the comments, people following my affiliate links, both for SVS, Amazon, all of my other affiliate links. It really helps. It makes a big difference. It's been very helpful for my sabbatical. I do have several videos in the works. It's just a matter of getting them edited and posted. I'll also be doing a video explaining the SVS Micro in the SUV. So that's going to be an interesting one. If you have any questions about that, please put them in the comments below so I can put that in the video. It was a very challenging setup, but also simple, if that makes any sense. It's definitely worth watching, but it's an interesting setup the way I have it in there. So thanks so much for watching, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. So I had to go through the sweeps to make sure that the bass was appropriately set.